So today we are talking about how to kill your acting internship, sub-internship, sub-I, whatever your program calls it, and also your away rotation. So this is specifically for fourth year medical students. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My channel is for anyone who's thinking about or currently training in medicine. I give advice based on my own life experiences. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel so you know every time I'm dropping gems. Follow me on Instagram at therealskinimin_MD and like my video so I know that you are learning from me and enjoying these videos. So like I said, today we are talking about doing well on the rotations that matter for matching into residency, and that is your away rotations, your sub-I / your AI. My program called it an acting-internship, but I think most programs call it a sub-internship, and it's the rotation that fourth year medical students take where they're acting as interns, and so they're taking on a lot more responsibility than they did in their third year rotations. So how do you do really well on these rotations? So here are a few of my tips. First of all, the simplest thing you can do is talk to people who have done these rotations before to see what the expectations are. So after you talk to prior students who've taken the rotation, the next thing is that on day one of your rotation, you ask the faculty who is there and the residents what their expectations are of you and take those seriously. Also, not many medical students ask this, so I know that when I asked this, a lot of people were happy to hear that because they knew I wasn't playing. Like, I was not here for games. I was here to show that I was serious and I was there to do a very great job. And also, let's give it, if you are on these inpatient services, definitely ask for feedback for within like about 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how long the attending is gonna be there, because they also like that. A lot of med students aren't asking for feedback. Like, you wanna make sure that you're doing well. Also, if you're interested in a letter, you want to make sure that, you know, there's that face-to-face time with the attendings. So the first two things is finding out what the rotation is like before starting it. And then the second thing is when the day one of the rotation, you're asking for the residents and the faculty what their expectations are. And once again, if the faculty you're switching over, you'll just ask the new faculty what their expectations are, because they're all going to be giving their separate grades based on their own expectations of you. Now, this is different for outpatient services. They might give you like an orientation of what they expect, but just make sure you have a clear understanding what you're supposed to be doing on these rotations because you want to give it your all. One of the most important things a medical student should look on these rotations is look interested. And it's very obvious when a medical student is not interested. I didn't realize that until I became a resident. And it's very easy to tell when a medical student isn't interested in what they're doing, isn't interested about what's happening with the patient. So make sure you're looking interested, because it definitely is going to rub the resident the wrong way and rub the attending the wrong way. And you don't want to do that on a rotation that you're taking very seriously. So how do you look interested? Simple enough, come early. Be prepared. If you are on internal medicine rotation, you want to make sure that the patients that you're taking on, you've looked through their labs, you are prepared with all the data that you need, that you've done lit review on whatever topic you should be researching, but just be prepared and come early. You're the one who's trying to prove yourself. Also, you're slower than the resident. Like, residents can get the job done quicker, so you definitely should be there earlier with a smile on your face and looking excited to be there. Now, sometimes you just can't get there earlier than residents. Sometimes a resident just comes super early and it's just not realistic time for you to come in. But at least coming in 15 minutes before your expected time is definitely the way to go. Ask questions, and ask questions that make sense. I've worked with medical students who ask questions, which makes it feel like you're just trying to ask questions instead of like thoughtfully asking questions. So ask thoughtful questions where you can have an engaging conversation with the resident or the attending. Also, make suggestions. You know, compared to a third year, as a fourth year, you're expected to think a little further than what you were expected to do as a third year. So making recommendations for treatment plans is definitely the way to go. And it's okay if you're wrong. You're not expected to be right. Residents aren't even expected to be right all the time. So definitely not a med student. But the resident and the attendings want to see that you are thinking things critically, thinking through things critically. And, you know, you only learn when you're being engaged and talking to your residents and the attendings, making suggestions, and they're telling you why it might be wrong and why it might be right. Offer to take on additional responsibility. I think it's always weird when the medical student clearly is not interested, and like right before it's time for them to leave, they're like, do you need me to do anything else? Like, you've barely done anything all day. Like, no, I don't. Throughout the day, asking your resident or your attending if there's anything else you can do, and even like noticing what they might need help with and doing it and taking initiative, those are all ways to look interested. But I'll get into that last part a little bit more later on in this video. The next tip is be teachable. Like I said earlier, no one's expecting you to know everything. We're expecting you to be wrong, but we want to be able to teach you. So coming off cocky is not the way to be. Trying to one-up your resident and look smarter than the resident is definitely going to rub the team the wrong way, rub the resident the wrong way, and rub the attending the wrong way. I need you guys to remember that when you're getting your feedback and your grades, the residents also have a say in what your grades are going to be, and of course the attending. So neither person you should be rubbing the wrong way. So I've seen med students interrupt residents while they're presenting on rounds or trying to like prove that they're smarter than the resident, and like that is not going to get you anywhere. Be teachable, be humble, and if you know your stuff, you know your stuff. Being cocky about it and rude about it, you don't need to do that. Of course, the most important thing is knowing your patients inside and out from the day of admission, or if you don't have them from the day of admission, but from the day you have them until the time of discharge, you are keeping up with every part of their course. You know their condition, you know about treatment options, and you're prepared to be pimped. So for example, if you have a patient who has pancreatitis, you should be ready to answer questions such as, what is the diagnostic criteria for pancreatitis? What are the risk factors for pancreatitis? And what are the treatment options for pancreatitis? Like, that's just like the bare minimum that you should know. And when you are presenting on rounds, you should know exactly what's going on with the patient. You should know what's currently happening, and you should be able to give recommendations for what the next steps are. Were they just admitted, and are they feeling better? Is it time for them to eat? Are they still in a lot of pain, or should we be altering pain management? That's your job. And once again, like I said, it's okay if you're wrong. It's just showing that you are critically thinking it through. If you have a patient with acne, you should definitely know the different treatment options for acne depending on the severity of acne, and if patient has had treatment failures in the past, what other options there might be. Just different things like that. You should know the bread and butter and be showing that you're very engaged in learning, and specifically with your patient, you've done lit reviews and you've done different ways of educating yourself on their diagnosis and how to treat them, because that's the whole reason you're here. Also, build a relationship with your patients. I built a really great relationships with my patients. Like, I still think about them to this day when I was in medical school. And I remember when I would say like, oh, I'm finished for the month, and they'd be like, oh my God, no, I don't want you to leave. That's the relationship you want with your patients, that they feel like you genuinely cared and wanted the best for them. This was for, of course, my AI, where I was actually doing heme onc, so I was working in the hospital. It's much more different, of course, if you're doing an outpatient rotation, but this was inpatient, so the patients would be there for like a week or so, and I would build a really strong relationship with all of my patients, got to know them. I would be their advocate. If your patients really like you, trust me, they're going to tell your attendings, they're going to tell the residents. They would say, I remember we used to be rounding, and they'll point me out and say, I really like her, she really cares about what's going on with me. Or this is a really good med student. I hope you give her a good grade. They'll just joke around like that, but that's the goal, right? Because your attendings are going to remember that. And then if you're going to be asking for a recommendation letter, those are the things that will be going on your letter. Be a team player. So this is where I was saying about anticipating what the team might need. So I remember I had, every time we went into the room, and I know every time we went to the room, I'd always get the gloves ready for one of my attendings. And before he would even like turn around to get his gloves, I'd have the gloves ready for him. And he always loved that. You want to always be thinking, how can you be helpful? How can you be helpful, not just to the attending, but the resident? Like I said, the resident plays a great role in your grade and how much they're going to vouch for you. So for example, in my intern year, when I was doing internal medicine, if you are doing your AI and you are taking care of, and you have ownership of a patient's care, you know, if you should know when I'm going to be ready to discharge the patient. And even if you're in limbo, you should know there's certain paperwork that needs to be completed. So a lot of times we have the medical students write up the discharge instructions, the discharge summary. I, as the resident, shouldn't have to ask you to get those things ready upon discharge. You should already be working on it. My best medical students had those things ready. So by the time I'm about to ask, hey, can you get the paperwork done? They're like, it's already done. If you want to just look it over and tell me what else I need to add. Because if I have to ask you to get that paperwork done, a lot of times it'll just be faster for me to do it myself. And then you're not helpful. So you always want to anticipate the needs of the resident and also how you can be helpful to the patient's care. So the patient needs to go, what paperwork can you get done that's going to help make everything go faster and go smoother? Very importantly, not only are you trying to impress the attendings and the residents, but they're going to notice if you can't work with other people in the healthcare team, such as nurses, the MAs, any of the techs in the hospital, phlebotomy, just anybody. If you're not friendly, if you're getting to arguments, if you're not cooperating, it's going to be noticed. You want to be a team player. You want to be a team player, not just for who you're rounding with or who can directly affect your grade, but also with everybody else. Next is befriend your residents. So when I say befriend, I want to make it clear that you are not going to become buddy friends with your residents. Now, this may happen, but that's not common. When you go in there, the whole point is to get a great working relationship with your resident so that they will vouch for you. When a resident really likes you, when it comes to interviewing, they will really go to bat for you. And what I mean by that, they will put in that good word. You know, at the end of the day, the attendings and faculty, the attendings and the residents are just looking for med students that will eventually be great colleagues to work with. So if they work with you and they're like, this person's amazing, like I really want them at this program, I've talked to them, I've learned how much they want to be here as well, like I've seen them do patient care, then they're really going to vouch for you. They're really going to go back and talk to their program director or talk to their attendings, talk to the faculty. I've done it. My co-residents have done it. I've seen it done in my intern year. It's done all the time. So you want to make that great relationship with the residents, but also remember, it's still a professional relationship. So you're not going to be complaining about things with the residents. Even if you hear residents complaining about stuff, you're not going to join in on that. You're not going to be gossiping about people with the residents. You know, it's still a professional relationship, but it's a relationship where they are like, I really like this person, I want them here. And another tip in regards to that is trying to work with the same resident that you get along with more, because that helps to build that relationship. When I identified, especially in dermatology, which residents I got along with, I spent most of my month with them because I knew that building that longer relationship will make them want to more vouch for me, because they can really speak onto my skills and my how much and my personality and how well it will fit in with the program. Especially for away rotations, speaking with the residents is also going to teach you about the program in itself. Also, just quietly observing the relationship between residents and faculty, residents and the other staff members, and hearing what they're saying about their program, just making sure you're taking it all in. It's a great opportunity on your away rotations to actually learn from the residents about the program. Always be careful of what kind of questions you're asking. I've said it in other videos where you don't want to start asking a lot of questions about cosmetics in an academic derm program, because that's actually really frowned upon. So you want to make sure, once again, that you're professional and you're asking questions that won't rub the residents the wrong way. Asking them about cosmetics, or even asking a lot about vacation time, and just like asking a lot about it. Like, not something I would recommend. So just think about things like that. So those are my main tips on how to kill your rotations as a fourth year. It's a new interview season we're coming upon. I'm excited for everyone on their journeys. I hope you enjoy your rotations, that you take a deep breath as you enter the application season and the interview season. And of course, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if you have any concerns. Make sure to like this video if you thought it was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. It was nice chatting with y'all. I always love chatting with y'all. I hope to see y'all at my next video. Bye.